sword. Hello. A lot of things have changed over the past years, so maybe some of you want to know what's going on in my life. I have a dog now. I moved out of my parents' basement into my wife's basement. I started playing the piano. And I went from training these things to combat sports. And I became more bald. It's okay, there's no point to deny it, guys. Just look at me. No! But why? I am the Shaolin guy. At least the only one that doesn't pretend he's some enlightened genius. Shaolin Kung Fu has been a huge part of my life since 2013. It's the love of my life. And so is my wife. That was a rhyme. Is that a crime? And it's still, to this day, probably my favorite martial art of all time. Yet, here I am, finding myself leaving it more and more behind every year. So, I wanted to share with you guys why that's happening and what informed this transition. Roll 6, going dog. I love saying that. I love saying that. Why do I love saying that? I have to stop saying that. It's just so cool. I managed to boil it down to 3 big reasons that are somewhat interconnected. Number 1, let's first talk about the art itself. I have never seen Shaolin Kung Fu as a way to fight. At least the parts that are most commonly associated with it. That means we're excluding Sanda, Shuaijiao, and Qinna, since the temple itself is excluding that stuff too, kinda. We're talking mostly forms, acrobatics, weapons, basics. These are the things that are trained first and foremost. And when people point at Kung Fu and say, oh, it's not for fighting, I laugh. Not because I think it is, but because the things it teaches you are going to be helpful if you choose to go into combat sports down the line. Shaolin Kung Fu improves your flexibility. Splits in all directions is a must if you want to be good. It improves your stamina, your strength, your coordination. It's fun, it's difficult, and I don't know why this is often not considered a good enough argument to practice it. It's beautiful. Come on, it's piaoliang. It's impressive, it's badass. I see the merits of Shaolin Kung Fu. I see what it does to a person. And there are plenty of reasons to practice it that don't include wanting to be a fighter. On God. Yet, at the same time, I can't lie to you guys, I just have to admit that I think it's somewhat odd that these ancient, maybe even mystical Chinese warriors that are considered legendary and not to be messed with don't fight. Again, this is a bit of an oversimplification, some do, and before anyone says, but they're monks, they're peaceful, look at the history, they're not.
You can Google this shit.
Anyways, and there's no need for it either. I think I've explained in other videos why the Shaolin Temple doesn't want combat sports to be practiced there, so I won't get into it here. But what I'm getting at is, there was an increasing insecurity building inside me, or maybe a type of a cognitive dissonance, you could call it. I'm a Shaolin disciple. I trained with Shaolin warrior monks, wow. But who are we fighting? Nobody. Just because every movement in a form has a fighting application, it's laughable to think that that's going to make you a fighter. Be real. So about half a year ago, I started judo again, which I also did as a kid for 2 years, and I've always enjoyed wrestling, and I started BJJ. And let me tell you something, I'm addicted. I've never in my life trained a more technical martial art. It feels like I'm playing chess, bro. It's incredible. A BJJ purple belt could go to the Shaolin Temple and submit every single one of them. Not because they're not fit over there or strong, but if you don't know BJJ, you just don't know what you're in for. I'm a white belt with 2 stripes. I can't do anything. My go-to move is to tap. I'm really good at that, by the way. Don't mess with me. I tap so quick, you won't even have time to finish your submission. But, you know, after 6 months of training, I was able to submit a kickboxer that was taller, at least 10 kilo heavier, and a lot wider than me, who had no BJJ experience. So, I do judo once a week, BJJ twice a week, boxing lessons once a week, weights twice a week, jogging thrice a week. I just don't have the time for Kung Fu anymore. I make sure I maintain what I learned, repeat the forms, keep my splits, occasionally do basics, but it's just not my focus anymore. Shaolin Kung Fu is also a little bit like riding a bike. You don't really forget how it's supposed to feel, but I also realized that I can't really get better in the environment that I am in right now. Which brings me to number 2. And to me, this is the saddest and most frustrating reason. There are no good Kung Fu schools where I live. And I'm not just talking in my area, in my entire country. Most Kung Fu you find in Germany is either Wing Chun, and I've told you guys what I think of that. I love it. Tai Chi Chuan, or Hung Gar Kung Fu. And Hung Gar Kung Fu is cool, but I personally just don't like Southern styles that much. And the few Northern style Kung Fu schools we have are simply not on a high enough level. Please don't misunderstand me. If there was a good Shaolin Kung Fu school close to me, I would sign up in a heartbeat, and not as a teacher, but as a student. I know what I'm good at, I know what I suck at, I know I have endless things to improve on. Shaolin Kung Fu is a journey with no end. There's a reason why I don't go around, even on my channel, calling myself a master. I'm not. I don't believe I am. I want to get better myself and I can't. Shaolin Kung Fu is also just not meant to be trained alone. I need that sense of community, like in the temple. At least somewhat. I've seen Kung Fu schools in Europe that are on a legit Chinese level. I've seen some in Ukraine and some in Spain. And the level is not to be found here. People only do forms here. And even then, it's usually not very good. And by the way, I'd love to be proven wrong. I've been doing research on this for some time and I couldn't find any good Kung Fu or Wushu schools. And by good, I mean Chinese level, of course. If I've missed something, I want to know about it. Send me that shit. Now, plot twist. The official offshoots of the Shaolin Temple in the West, where the monks teach, you'd think they're great, right? They're because they're legit. They often aren't the best schools either. I've said it before, but they usually don't care that much about their students' progress. They think Westerners are weak and not committed, so they see training as goofing off and doing some fitness. Or, and this is maybe even more surprising to some of you, Shaolin Kung Fu has an emphasis on explosive energy. It's loud, it's scary, it's a show. If you look at Wushu competitions, these people are better in terms of clearness and quality of movements. Better than the monks from the temple. I would love nothing more than to have a proper Wushu and Shaolin Kung Fu school in my area. I'd sacrifice my Sunday for it. Screw it, no rest day, let's go. But it just doesn't exist. I have no clue why. I hope that one day some Chinese people will realize that there's an untapped market, okay? Yeah, what can I say? We have no high-level Wushu practitioners and very, very few good Shaolin Kung Fu schools. And now, the dreaded third reason. Oh boy. You know, over the past years of doing content about Shaolin Kung Fu and the culture surrounding it, shocker, I've not only made friends. I try to give a nuanced perspective on it. Because I find the stuff you see online is either ridiculously exaggerated and overblown, how badass it is and what it empowers you to do, or it's uninformed people spreading half-truths or just being ignorant of it. There's so much dishonesty in that community and I'm starting to get seriously sick of it. Case in point, I just recently shared a story on Instagram of some play pretend master shoving people away with his energy by barely moving. Classic Bullshido stuff, nothing special. I reposted it with a laugh track, you know, I found that to be more fitting. What did he do? Send me a massive paragraph in my DMs and 3 long voice messages threatening me with exposing my secrets and the truth behind my time at Shaolin and that he'll come to my house, you know. Yeah, complete and utter brain rot. And he's supposed to be a Zen master. Yeah, man, very Zen, bro. The 36 chambers of Shaolin. The first one is threatening people in DMs. Oh, man. What is this world, bro? Maybe that's a Shaolin technique I haven't learned yet. Guys, what the flip? For real though, I can't tell you how happy I am that since day one of covering Shaolin related things, I decided to be honest and transparent about it with you. Maybe even to a fault. Although actually not to a fault. What's the opposite of a fault? A fault? A correct. I did it correct. What am I saying? I met my wife at Shaolin. I shed my pants at Shaolin. Not completely, but a little bit. The pants, yeah, long story. I did throw away the pants. It wasn't a full-on log in the pants. A little came out, whatever. It was a long story. I was walking up to once ago. I really had to, whatever. I shit my pants. It happens. It happens to all of us. I pissed in bottles because I was too lazy to go to the bathroom. I played Mortal Kombat with the warrior monks. I have nothing to hide in regards to my time in Shaolin. I loved it. If I was pretending to be someone I'm not, I'd be in trouble. But I share everything. I don't care. Shaolin content online is so fake and wannabe enlightened people who make up their own lineages. This is sick! And exploit people's need for guidance and direction in life. There are people who call themselves Shaolin monks, but they're not officially ordained. Or so many videos of people who say, I trained at the Shaolin temple, and it's just another Kung Fu school. Why? Why do you do that? Stop it, it's unnecessary. So many people do things behind the scenes in private that are very contrary to the image they portray online. I also have things that are private, that are none of you guys' business, but none of it runs contrary to what I say. Another example, the last one, then I'll wrap it up, okay, I promise. A warrior monk from the temple reached out to me a few months back. I wasn't in his training group, he was in a more senior show group, but we've seen each other a lot, you know, we occasionally crossed paths and chatted a little bit. He recognized me online, so we talked a little bit. It was super fun and he's a great guy, but once I told him that I do YouTube and I talk about my life and my experience at Shaolin, one of the first things he replied was that he hoped I didn't give too much information. And doesn't that just speak volumes? Everyone knows. Sorry, Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about why that is. When I went to the temple, I also expected it to be some type of way, but it wasn't. I learned quickly that people are people wherever you go. And you know what? That's okay. Some people are great, some people not so great. But it's the facade, man. It's the combination of martial arts that aren't for fighting with the expectation to be a wise and enlightened genius to be looked up to and money that just seems unhealthy. I don't know, man. Scammers and liars. Too many. Honestly, the BJJ gym I go to right now is probably the single best and most respectful martial arts community I've ever been a part of. Ever. Shout out to Esa. This stuff keeps people grounded, no pun intended. No BS, just training, having fun, no pretending, no mental gymnastics, no insecurities, no cult of personality. I'm sick of all that shit, man. I'm so done with it. It makes me angry because I love Shaolin Kung Fu so much. I want people to love it too, to see it for what it is, to appreciate the hard work it takes. I want more people to train it. Yeah, these are the reasons why I'm training Shaolin Kung Fu less and less. Now you know. And if you don't know, now you know. I will never stop completely. I will always protect it because it's my baby. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm wearing my new merch, by the way, if you have noticed. Monk Gang, Monk Gang. There's a little hidden thing on the back. I really love this. I wanted to create something simple just for training. And by the way, this is me. Give it to you. Money. If you like this, it's comfy. You can train in it. Why not? What's your problem, huh? I have a girlfriend. I have no idea if anyone will care about this because it's more personal and I sometimes am confused about what my channel even is at this point. Do you guys care? I have no idea. I'm sorry. Whatever. It is what it is. Antoni out.